So my question is, during times when I am not authentically feeling joyful, it's hard to be motivated to create something, create content. What advice would you have for people?
Two things.
Like that? Yeah.
That's a great question. Two things. One, go to sleep. Like, don't. Forcing it is, you know this, you've probably had to persevere. I've gone through it on stage or in a live stream. Like, sometimes there's just something else on your mind. There's other things going on and you can't be that 100, So one, for content creation, I think it's okay to not post for a day or a week or even a month. Like, as much as I'm ambitious for my audience to be like, hey, 3-4 times a day across all these platforms, 40 piece of content a day, that's when you're in it. If you're not in it, then I think it's super incredible to not do it or take a break or have 36 hours pass and then get on it. Or, which I think would be really powerful, post a piece of content about that. So if you're the funny guy and making people laugh and escapism, but then you post like, yo, today's a tough day. Like, I'm not in character. Like, yo, this is where I'm at. I think that brings a lot of value to people.
Yeah. The vulnerability.
Vulnerability is super powerful. And honestly, it's something I struggle with. And like, I in general don't like, showing vulnerability. I don't like, talking about when I'm not in it. I kind of go in a cocoon, like my whole career, my whole life, really. If I'm not in a good place, I just kind of quote unquote go to sleep because I'm just not interested in passing on my negativity or my struggles on others. However, when you're in the public domain, there is a level of like showing people like humanity and things of that nature that could be powerful. And that's highly personal, but I think one or two are really good options, Chaz, in that situation. Like, don't beat yourself up if you don't go at it for a week just because you're in a slump, or feel the power to actually just share like, yo, I'm in a slump. I'll be back. Just a couple things I'm working through in my dome, Yeah.
Word. Follow-up question to that. Yeah. We got time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So one thing I'm working on now also, especially while we have just this time to slow down while we're staying at home, is I'm working on building a greater structure for, I guess, the business and financial side of my stuff. But going back and forth between that and creating can be difficult mentally too. Like, what do you do to, separate the creative aspects of your work from, or to go back and forth between the creative and business aspects of your work? Like, I'm sure you hire people and delegate with tasks, but
for me, those two things come super natural because I can be creative and I am in general business oriented. But yeah, I think that's right. I think you figure out, whether it's a manager or something of that nature, somebody that you trust that can hold down, the creative part's on you, unless you get a creative partner who like writes or helps or, things of that nature. But I think the whole world is based on doubling down on your strengths and really sourcing out your weaknesses. I think that 98% of the people that are watching right now spend way too much time trying to fix their shortcomings, when the reality is the upside there is slightly, a slight growth. Whereas if they just went ham on the shit that they love and they're best at, they get a ton more value, and then that actually extracts dollars to be able to subsidize the things that they are not as good at. So yes, I do think hiring and building teams is super powerful. I think the way to be your version of me is to just truly be yourself and really lean into what you want to be doing. I think so much of what I look back at in the last 20 years, professionally specifically, is, me just being comfortable being me. When I first wanted to do speaking, everyone told me that I couldn't curse. I kept cursing. When I started my career, I worked for my dad's liquor store, even though, I knew there'd be, certain parts of that like people would judge me. Of like working in my dad's shop. But when I wanted to bet the farm financially on investing in Facebook and Twitter, I didn't listen to my financial advisors that were advising the wine store from a finance standpoint. I just felt very comfortable being me. And I think that's ultimately, the thing I'm best at is actually being me. The thing I'm best at is being Gary. And I think for, not being your full self is really where most people get into unhappiness, when they're living for other people's opinions. And so I think you need, and that's really tough. Asian cultures and, parents, and I'm, PhD, like I get it, I know the kind of like symbols that make it difficult, but the way you can do it is actually just being your full self. When I started making Gary Vee videos that weren't wine videos, there was no obvious path to what I was going to do with it. I just knew that building brand and sharing my thoughts and being a good person would lead to opportunity.
So just keep going with it and see where it ends up.
It's similar to the young lady that we just had. It's not only going with it, like doing the right thing is always the right thing. Like building brand is always the right thing. Like karma is the most practical strategy in business. Like kindness, caring, like people are so confused right now because there's so much political tension, there's so much anger, there's so much stuff going on in our world pre-COVID that people are super confused. Like the way you actually win is by doing all the nicest shit humanly possible. Like nice guys win. Like this whole like nice guys, finish last makes me laugh. Nice guys may lose that race that you're talking about, the micro, but they're winning in life. Dick faces may win that race, but they're losing in life. And so doing all this stuff, but also similar to the last call, not saying yes right away if it's not the right thing. There's been a million opportunities for me to monetize things that I've said no to that later I monetized and monetized far more successfully. So it's not only stay the course, John, it's when the first opportunity comes to sell it, to get a sponsor, to create a referral program, it might not be the right one, and having the strength and the foresight and the strategy capabilities to realize it's not the right time to monetize or to act on this is a huge deal.
So I was just wondering, how could I divide my time?
By dividing it.
Okay. Fair enough. Very fair. And then
play with me here.
Okay.
Like, what's the struggle?
The struggle is like I just got too much shit going on, and like I just can't like focus on one thing at a time and then move to the next thing. You know what I mean? Like they're very different. Like one thing is creative, and then one thing's like more finance.
Okay. So what do you? I think you can switch to them. I just think that you might just be beating yourself up and have decided that because you have two things that you're not accomplishing either because you're stretched too thin. What's making you think you can't balance it?
Probably myself,
Yeah, that's exactly right. If you told me like they all failed, that's the results. But I think a lot of people just create an ideology, or like one person they respect or like or they think is successful tells them that they need to focus on one thing, and then they just believe them. Like, why can't you balance the creative thing you're doing and the finance thing you're doing? I would argue you are balancing them. As long as one of them doesn't go out of business, or as long as one doesn't bring you deep unhappiness, you actually are balancing them. I think people just get into philosophy for no fucking reason.
Nah, for real. I appreciate that. And just one more question. When I don't have an audience to ask, how do I figure out the best way to provide value and engage them? Like I don't give a fuck about the followers, the likes. Like I want 17 real followers that comment on every post.
By making.
Making,
because you're gonna have one piece of content. Have you started TikTok?
Nah.
James, listen to me. TikTok is free audience. For everybody who's listening, and by the way, I see you Twitch. You're almost at 10,000 people. I fuck with you guys on Twitch. You guys are really going at it hard. TikTok is free audience, bro. Like how many, you know that I was gonna ask you that question. How the fuck did you come on here this morning and not set up a TikTok account before we got on here? It's free audience.
You're right.
I know I'm right. It's free fucking audience. You want 17 real fans? Make one TikTok when we hang up right now, and you got it. Your big fucking dream of 17, James? I just fucking gave it to you. Hang the fuck up, make a TikTok of you brushing your fucking teeth, and you've got 17 free fans.